Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I would like to thank you all for joining me here today as we have a really great topic to discuss. It's right on the hour, so we are ready to get started. Again, welcome, enjoy the show, and we're happy to have you here and talk about CMS and e-commerce all together. First off, quick introductions are always due. I would like to welcome you all here once again. My name is Svetla Yankova, and I work with Telerik and Sitefinity as a sales engineer. I also happen to love e-commerce and be really passionate about anything e-commerce and CMS related. So if you want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, just feel free to talk to me on Twitter at Svetla Yankova. And also another important thing is if you have any questions regarding today's webinar, regarding the combination between CMS, e-commerce, and all the different things around it, please also feel free to join the conversation on Twitter at #eSitefinity. And there I'll be really happy to go over your questions after the webinar and address them one by one. So with that, we are ready to jump in and get started with our webinar. Today's topic is making your CMS the ultimate e-commerce solution. And this topic essentially stems from one really important thing. That is, e-commerce is carrying very important opportunities for us right now, right at this day. So if we talk about e-commerce in 2013, how e-commerce looks like right now, one thing that is really important not to ignore, and it's really hard to ignore, is the numbers, right? So if you look at the numbers and how e-commerce has grown and boomed throughout the year, you can see that this is an industry that is very heavily evolving, very heavily moving towards great big numbers. I mean, if you just look at all the stats out there, it reached over $1 trillion globally. And for each and every region and for each and every country, you see immense growth in e-commerce. So there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of opportunity for businesses out there to make money online. And that is important for us because it carries, again, a very important opportunity to grow and develop our businesses online. But there's another important stat that I wanted to show here, and that is the percentage of growth. In essence, how fast does revenue grow? So if you look at the bars out there, those are revenues and sales revenues from e-commerce, and they're growing and growing. And although numbers vary by region, the bar chart looks more or less the same. But what is essential for this is that the growth rate is starting to settle down. So what this means is that e-commerce is now starting to grow at a slightly decreasing rate. Now, it probably will grow and grow and grow indefinitely, but it is entering a new and more mature phase where the boom is already over and the industry is settling down. And so why is this important? Why is this new stage important? Well, if you look at the background behind all things, e-commerce carries its success because a lot of people joined in. A lot of people started shopping online because of the convenience. And it's simply slowing down growth because almost everybody shops online now. Again, varies from region to region. Maybe in the United States, more people shop online than in the Asia-Pacific region right now. But all these numbers are going to settle down and even out throughout time. And that growth is essentially going to slow down a little bit. Now, what do these numbers mean? Just mathematically, what do they mean and how do they add up together? Well, if you think of it in simple supply and demand terms, I've added a couple of numbers in there that are the rates of growth for certain years. So 16.1 was for 2011. I believe 14.5 was in 2012. Here we're talking US, but comparable in Europe, somewhat different in other regions. And then 11.3 is what is projected to be in 2016. So what does that mean? It means that if everybody who's joining in, who's making money online, expects to make a revenue of, let's say, around 15%, a very reasonable number, right? then you're going to have more and more competition around you, and you're going to have more and more innovation around you. And that means great opportunity. So that means that in this pie that is growing, if you get to be the one who is innovating, if you get to be the one who is making new things out of the old boom of e-commerce, that means great opportunity for you. And I'll show you two facts why is that and why you're at great opportunity right now. So one is fairly obvious. One is the fact that what I call here the old school approaches, they're getting a little bit less effective. Some of them are even getting a lot less effective. And what I mean by old school approaches is this idea of just using ads to promote your business. People tend to ignore them. People tend to ignore all sorts of ads, be it online ads, be it television ads. They even tend to leave their favorite sites because of ads. So in this matured web, people just started ignoring ads. Another thing that people started paying attention to and search engines started paying attention to is value. So search engines are looking for a value. They're getting better and better at finding it and serving things that people would like. And so that means that some of the old school SEO tactics are simply not as effective. Now, they're still valid, but they're simply not as effective, and you can do a lot more with what you have. And the third point here is that having and carrying only an online catalog is not enough anymore. It is by all means essential, but if you have a catalog and your competitor has a catalog and a blog, the numbers there indicate something like his customers being 50–60% more likely to buy, more likely to find, and basically more likely to send money his way. So those are kind of obvious, right? We hear those all the time. Outbound marketing is on the decline, ads are on the decline, everybody's talking about new stuff and new approaches. What is probably not that obvious is that people are also not implementing the new approaches massively and to the most efficiency. So some of the things that you can look at for the newest trends in the web and in e-commerce, you will see numbers that indicate that if you happen to implement those correctly, you'll be a great edge ahead. And I'm talking about a few amazing statistics here. Now, even though last year more mobile devices got sold than actual desktop devices, and mobile has been on a huge, huge rise, 90% of sites still are not optimized for mobile, even though now we have responsive design and we have all those different opportunities to get there. And another amazing statistics is around social media. Social media that brought that big of a revolution in the web, that brought in so much opportunity, has somehow not talked all that well with e-commerce. Social media, of course, still holds a lot of promise, and the numbers there are insane. People talk about content, and they talk about brands and about products all the time in social media. But very few of these conversations actually link back to product and brand websites, and even fewer actually happen to lead to sales. Forrester made one research with big e-commerce companies, and they found out that only less than 1% of sales are traced back to social conversation in any of the touch points that happened before that conversion. So, of course, for mid-size or smaller shops, this number may vary, but it's still not indicative of what we can do with all these new things. In essence, people are not joining the conversation quite yet. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk exactly about how you can grab this opportunity and join this conversation with people and utilize all these different techniques properly. But there's one key component and one key ingredient that needs to come up here in terms of strategy, and that is content. So that is the idea of telling stories, about giving value, about giving valuable resources around your products. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So if we look at content and telling stories as a strategy, you will see something quite interesting. I want to pull up a quote here that has been re-quoted many, many times, and I'll be jumping on the bandwagon as well. And that quote comes from Bill Gates in a prediction he made at 96. So he said that content is where much of the real money is to be made in the internet, and he compared it to television, to broadcasting. And in fact, this prediction came true. If you look at the bigger web in general, content is just reaping success everywhere. Everybody is investing in content strategy and content marketing and inbound marketing, and the numbers are booming there. The growths are booming, the budgets are growing, and everybody agrees that these things are more and more effective. So what was true for television, the fact that information and entertainment finally won the television industry and the broadcasting industry, that was true in the past. It happens to be true for the web in general in the present. So content is king of the web in present. So, and if you happen to have a lot of content, then that will give you a lot of success. And so this, in effect, is very naturally to be true for e-commerce in the future. All the e-commerce stores, all the e-commerce business will revolve around the stories you tell and the information you give and the value you give to your customers in a conversation that you make online. And so with this in mind, with having this strategy in mind of content, I want to look at another different thing. So content is valuable because it creates experiences through stories, right? People like to read information that expands their knowledge, that gives them more value. And if you look at all the different bits and pieces of the ecosystem of the web, you will see that they also very closely correlate to content. So content stems a lot of different experiences that happen to be key components of how the entire web ecosystem acts. Nowadays, it is the most important key component for search engine optimization. It is the most important key component of whether people share what they see on your site. It's the most important key component for establishing a brand identity and trust in people in front of you to establish yourself as a brand. So content really relates to all these factors. And I wouldn't make this graph uglier, but actually these factors also relate to each other. Mobile impacts SEO, social impacts SEO, blogging impacts different other factors. And so this is a great big machine that helps and grows bigger and bigger the better your content is. So there's, if you look at things, a unique symmetry of what content impacts and what helps with online sales. And if you look at this symmetry, of course, online sales are not only driven by price and quality anymore, by the type of product that you put out there. It is an important key component, but the online key component, the web and digital-based key components here, are the same that content impacts. So if you look at this beautiful symmetry out there, it's the most natural thing to bring these two together, to have content correlate to sales and then correlate to all these different factors that further down the line help each other and bring these things together. And this is the most natural thing in the world. And another important thing and another important buzzword nowadays is personalization, which is, in one sentence and in one word, the thing that can bring these two closer together. So the thing that can shorten the gap between content and sale and between the different steps that your user makes in the conversation with you. So that is what brings the conversation together. All in all, it's a beautiful symmetric picture of what our strategy could be with content and what our goals are with what we want to achieve with online sales, online revenue. So our expectation is to marry those two together and to have a beautiful opportunity to work off of content, and then that will help us drive people towards our e-commerce stores and making more sales. So the expectation and the strategy aligns great with the goals. But in reality, if you look at the technology, why is it that we've thought about them as two separate verticals? So the tools that are used to create content experiences, the tools that give us our publisher hat, are different than the tools that give us our merchant hat. And this has traditionally been the case. So you have the great big industry of e-commerce and you have the great big industry of CMS, and they have been traditionally different in tooling, in experts, in what different companies have to offer, and even in different things around them. But you have one problem, right? You have one site to build and one experience to build. So what we're going to talk about today is exactly this, building those experiences within combination of content and e-commerce and bringing and merging the gap together. And so I'm going to start with this. I'm going to fire up a demo right here, and I'm going to start by saying this. All sales start with research. And that is very fundamentally true. That is essentially very true because you don't expect people to land on your site and land on your shopping page. And in fact, there's a beautiful experience behind this as to how people find your site, how people explore and start looking at different options and different products and different information on your site, then how they go through the purchasing process, and then how they return. And in traditional terms, this was a funnel, right? This is your conversion funnel, and a lot of people find it, then much fewer explore it, then much fewer buy, and then even fewer return. So today we're going to talk about how you can use this content strategy to narrow down this funnel, and how you can use personalization to shorten the gaps between the different steps. And so with this, let me fire up a demo here and get started with the real stuff, get started with the demo stuff. And so what we're going to be looking at today is a demo website that we have created for you guys. And this demo website is a quantum company, a computer company that sells fictitious computers and personal computing that also makes them out of recycled materials. So that is their value proposition, that is what they're selling, and their audience is probably environmentally conscious technology enthusiasts. Now, let's look at this system and this website from the beginning here. Let's look at how users get to it and how users interact to it from the first step. The first thing we shouldn't be expecting is for a user's journey to start right here, right? It wouldn't start in the online shop. It will even probably not even start here. It will even probably not even start at the home page. Where it will probably start is this page, this very famous page right here. So we'll probably start with a Google search. Somehow, somewhere in this experience and in this journey, a user has to type in a term and find out about our brand, find out about our product. And so let's say I enter here as a user and I type in some term, let's say eco-friendly laptops, and then I make a simple search around this. So what happened is Google takes parts of a second, looks through a lot of different documents and a lot of different results, and then gives me, in my search results page, a number of results that would make sense for me. And you can see here that on the first place, I have an article written by none other than Quantum Computers. Now let's take a second here and think about why this article came on top. Because of the way search engines have evolved in the past, they've made a shift from from evaluating the quality of links, basically who do you link to, who links to you, what type of ranking do they have, how old is their site, how much did they state. We've shifted from that, which was the core of the SEO industry in 2008, 2009, into evaluating what type of content you have on your site. Does it expand the knowledge tree? Do people like it? Do people read it? Do people share it? And so because Quantum as a company has invested a lot in a content strategy and in hiring verified, qualified people and putting them in a content workflow, because of this, we have a lot of articles that are liked, seen, shared, and basically Google picks up on that and ranks that up top. Another thing and another factor that Google weighs in is how established is our brand. So those are the two factors that really weigh in together in the modern day SEO. In the SEO after the changes in 2011, 2012, where some of the older stuff are just being made a little bit relevant in algorithms. So let's look at what happened when we clicked on our first result and we ended up on a page. Now, we as a user made this Google search, we landed on a page, and we landed on a blog post that Google's algorithm calculated would be interesting for us. So it's very likely that we read the article, we love it, we like what we're seeing here, we may even share it on a social network, and basically we like what we see. Because of the fact that we like what we see, we're very likely to stay on the site and then keep browsing. But let me pause down here and talk about something else as well. Now, what you see in this page, the page we landed on, the article we landed on, is a nice morphing between content and e-commerce. And you see we made it a little bit obvious right here is because we've put in e-commerce on the right-hand side here, and we put our content on the left-hand side. So we basically just morphed these experiences and augmented our content experience within the same page and added a bit of e-commerce. We figured out, oh hey, this person is interested in green computing and in green computers, so maybe we should offer computers that are, let's say, tagged with green. Now, since we're on that article, I want to bring in something else here really quickly. And I wanted to bring in something that will give you an idea of how this experience could vary from user to user and from a person to person. So I'm going to bring in a tab right here on the screen, and you will see the exact same thing that I'm seeing right now. So our user landed on our site, and he landed on our blog post. We know for a fact that he was looking for eco-friendly laptops, but he might as well have been looking for eco-friendly tablets, right? So that view might have been a little bit different. That view might have changed a little bit if we've changed up the keywords that we're looking for, and we're looking for eco-friendly tablets. So the journey that we land on and the page that we land on really emphasizes on the different steps that we take forward, and our website can make different changes to it to narrow down that gap, to lead us and guide us to the second stage, so that if we're actually interested in purchasing a tablet, we can go ahead forward and go to our shopping store. Now, the other thing that's very interesting when I start this journey is that this journey is non-linear. What I mean by this is what probably happened is our user landed on something like this, right? Our user probably used his smartphone, made the search within the smartphone, and then landed on a page. Now, if he likes what he sees, if he doesn't have to squint and pinch and zoom, and if he reads the article and likes the article, then he's very likely to keep clicking through our site, keep browsing through our products in this mobile medium. So it is of great effect to us if we have this easily laid out for him so that he can go on forward and read it in that medium. And so if I close down this console and if we close down this mobile device, we can safely assume that our user makes different journeys to our site as well. So we can safely assume that if he liked what he's seen and if he didn't purchase it right away, he is very much capable of coming back. And of course, a lot of people do that. A lot of people come back and forth. And so he may decide to come back on his desktop or on his tablet or on a different device and look and click through and look at the products and look at the blogs and look at the offerings. So let's say in this case we're interested in purchasing this product, and we click through and entered into our product description page. Now right here we can read a lot about our product, we can see a lot of valuable information, But what's very likely to happen is that I'm going to keep browsing as a user and as a customer of this site. So I'm not really likely to just get out my credit card and spend $1,100 off the bat, and I may just keep browsing again on different devices in different moments in time. So in this case, my system can prompt me to add this to my wish list, to sort of bookmark it, or to share it in social media or social bookmarking sites. And so I can come back to it probably later. But in effect, I'm very likely to browse. I'm very likely to click through and see what else does the system offer, what type of laptops do they have, what type of even other articles do they have, what type of things are available within the system. And so as a user, I'm making these journeys back and forth and checking out different things around the site. I can check out the news, the blogs, the support options, a little bit about the company before I decide to put my trust and put my money into this company. Now, picture this. Our user is going back and forth within the site. He still hasn't purchased a product yet, but he's obviously interested. He keeps coming back, and he keeps seeing different information, and he keeps reading on different stuff. Now, take this example from the online world into the offline world. Had we been a shopkeeper and had we really had an actual physical store, if somebody comes back every now and then and spends, let's say, a half an hour in our store, hasn't purchased anything but looks very interested in all the different things and keeps coming back, then we are very likely to pick up on that and start that conversation. So when we start that conversation with him, we are likely to talk to him and say, oh, hey, do you want to read something more about my product? Are you really interested in Photon? I really picked up on the fact that you really liked it. You stayed on the site, you visited X, Y, and Z pages, and you stayed on the site more than 30 minutes. So here's a little bit more information about Photon. And let me personalize this experience just a little bit for you so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. And not only am I eager to start this conversation, at a certain point in time, I may even be inclined to make the deal a little bit sweeter. So let's say it's end of the quarter, and we want to drive all our customers to purchase a particular product and make the deal a little bit sweeter. But we don't want to do this for everybody, but we want to urge the ones that are close to buying. So that means that if I had picked up on that, I can say something like, oh, hey, let me offer you a coupon code and also a bit more information. And then probably that will help you reach a decision. So here you seem to be a great guy, and you seem to be really excited about this product. So let me give you a coupon code and let you purchase this product now. So at this point, we've tossed around in the site quite a lot, and we are very likely to buy. So let's go through that process. And right now, we just simply go through the purchasing funnel and enter our credentials and enter our shipping information, billing information, and go through the actual purchase. So, here is something that is directly and strictly e-commerce. We've tossed around with the idea of content e-commerce and going back and forth and augmenting the content with e-commerce and augmenting the e-commerce with content. So there's a lot of different things around that. But here we're getting into a checkout, which is a strictly e-commerce driven functionality that we have on the same site. And I will enter my information. I would now be happy that I receive free shipping because I'm purchasing an expensive product. And I'll go ahead and click continue to enter my payment info. So as I do that, and as I choose my shipping, as I choose from real rate FedEx shipping or free shipping or any of the other options that I have in there, what I can do is now enter my payment information. Now the system is nice enough to remind me that I actually had a coupon code that I can apply here. So I'm going to apply that a little bit later and enter my shipping information. Now guys, don't take a pen and pencil and write down my absolutely real credit card information. And let me go ahead and apply my coupon code, which It didn't seem to have applied correctly. Let me try with this one. And so I've applied my coupon code, I get a bit of discount, I press down continue, and I'm ready to make a purchase. I'm ready to convert into an actual customer. So I've went down from a new visitor to a repeat visitor, and I'm now a brand new customer. I now, having placed this order, am a proud owner of a Photon laptop. So there's another task that Quantum has in mind as a site, is to make me into a return customer, into a community member, into a person contributing to forums, into a person who's sharing information and data with his friends, and actually an advocate of the brand. And so there's a third step where you can narrow that gap and personalize based on product purchases, and then really build a lot of content based on that. So we're going to talk a lot more about how you can create this entire type of experience and this entire type of flow right within the same system. So at this point, we are ready to get Sitefinity fired up. We're ready to get Sitefinity started and give it a spin and see how we can create experiences like that. So what I want to do is first of all, enter /Sitefinity and go to the back end of the system where I can do administrative tasks around that. So I'm going to my back end and I'm having Sitefinity give me all these content editing options right here on the top, along with my e-commerce options in the e-commerce menu. So the steps I'm going to take you once I land on this dashboard are very tasks focused. So first things first, we saw a blog post. The blog post led us from Google to our site. So let's actually check how all this type of content governance works together with Sitefinity. And in order to do that, I'm going to click through on blogs. And I wanted to show you how content works together in the system. And the system here is really intuitive. It allows me to have a great deal of power in terms of creating blogs and managing all the different types of content that I have. And it looks consistently the same within all these different types of content. So be it news, blogs, events, all those different types of content, and even types of content that I made up and created out of thin air. So let's see how this would work within the concept of blogs. We get to our blogs listing here, and we see we have right around 3 articles published. In reality, those might be 300 or 3,000. And we also have a few articles that are in our workflow. So we have a few articles that are in that governance editorial process, and they're part of our workflow. Now, what we can do from here is, let me walk you through the actual process of creating an actual blog post. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Create a Post button, and that will really intuitively bring me to a simple editorial screen where I can go ahead and enter down my blog post. Now, that's great, and we all know that everybody writes blog posts online and not on Microsoft Word, but that's not entirely the case. So, you know, what in reality is the fact that I probably created a blog post beforehand, and I've probably authored something offline, and I want to bring this quickly towards the web. So right then and there, no problem. What we can do is go ahead and copy this, paste it, and then have Microsoft Word really strip down any type of MOS tags or any type of weird fonts and ugly formatting and give me clean, standard, valid HTML. Again, another thing that is really important for search engines, really important for our editorial experience, and really important to bring our articles closer to our audience faster. So let's give this a title. And let's say recycled airplanes make great and lightweight ebooks. So I'm going to add a few of my keywords in the title, and what's really important, I should probably add imagery here, and I can really use that content editing experience to bring all these things together. So I can either upload images from my computer, or I can directly select from images that are already uploaded. And so I can select from, let's say, a content folder that I have right here, and I can select a particular ebook that I have in mind that I wanted to show, and I will create a brand new library for this and say, okay, well, here is where my ebooks stay. Let me click this and let me have this natural, intuitive experience that brings my content together without me having to go back and forth in time and in space over and over again within this experience. And so right with this, I can add a few other options to my blog post. So I can add a summary and say, here is how we make ebooks. Hint, we recycle airplanes or something. And then I can go ahead and categorize this or tag this or organize this in any shape and form for reuse across my site. So I can add a category here that says, okay, this is part of my community blogs and this is part of my green campaign. So I'm going to reuse this and repurpose this with green products and with green campaigns. And as I click done, I would have this category directly applied to my blog, and I can do the same with tags. So I can say this is a green blog, and this is also a featured blog, and this is also a blog about something else. So as I go ahead and organize this, the system would have figured out a search engine friendly URL for me immediately. It will give me a great URL right off the bat based on the title I gave this. What I can do is change this URL. I can make a vanity URL out of this, or I can even have multiple URLs that redirect to my canonical URL right there. So, you know, if I wanted to shorten this a little bit, and if I wanted to call this Recycled Airplanes eBooks or have something custom for a URL, then I can have this right off the bat, and I'm ready to go ahead and publish this, or I can even go ahead and publish or schedule a publish on a specific date. So all these types of things in combination help me govern my content better. Having workflow, having scheduling, having all these different things around content help me bring people together and help me have content waiting for them each time they enter that site. So let me go ahead and publish this, and I'm even going to review this little article here that is awaiting approval. And I'm going to go ahead and review this and maybe add in an extra sentence here, and then add an extra word here, and then maybe delete some of the words right here. So I can make some edits towards the other ones that are waiting approval, kind of organize my content a little bit, see what type of categories, what type of tags apply here, and go ahead and publish this content article that somebody else has left for me to approve as well. Now, here's where I would manage all those different things. And what's important to note in the power of an enterprise CMS system is that all those things carry around all the infrastructure around them. So you can have permissions dedicated and designated for a specific article or for a specific author. You can delegate and put workflows and put all sorts of things and infrastructure around this. Those all work with RSS, they all work with Search, they all work with all the other infrastructural bits and pieces that fall together. And the other thing that you do get is the idea that you can basically compare and see what has happened to an item in history and do all your governance from there. So if you want to look at it side by side and say, here's my blog post, here's what I scratched off, here's what I added, and this is yet another part of the important content management story. But enough about content and enough about blogs. This is the easy part. Let's go to the fun part and see how we can connect this all together into pages and into unified e-commerce and CMS experiences. So for this exact same reason, what I want to take you is this pages section right here. And what I want to do in this pages section is show you how you can create pages and tailor them to any type of experience. So I'm going to create a page right here, and I'm going to click this button, and this will basically lead me to the screen where I can say, well, okay, we're going to start selling ebooks. We're launching a new line, and we have a new ebook that's coming up, so let's create a landing page for that. And the first thing is I'm going to give this page a name, and Sitefinity in itself is going to figure out a lot of the standard infrastructural things. So things like the search engine friendly title, the search engine friendly URL. It will use a template for me immediately that is consistent across my entire site, and I'm basically ready to go ahead and start authoring. And so let me go ahead and click this button, and I'm ready to start adding content. Now, where we landed here is this section, this page editing section, that is really a great way to to bring your pages together. So what you see here is essentially our template, the template we decided to use that is consistent with all the other aspects of our site. And what this template brings us is this little area here where we are prompted to quote-unquote drag widgets. And so our template is sort of like the crust of the pie, and we're ready to add the filling, right? And as we're ready to do so, we can pick from any of those widgets around here and simply drag and drop and bring our experience together. So let's start with something simple. And I'm going to drag one of those widgets here, drop it into the central section, and add a simple banner. And so to do that, I'm going to select from an image that was already uploaded, that was already provided from my authors, and I'm going to pick this one and display my banner on my site. Now I can go ahead and add alternative text, crop, resize, rotate. I can do a lot of things with that image, but in essence, in this case, I'm ready to go, and my banner looks beautiful. Now, here comes the fun part. What if we wanted to do multi-column, multifunctional pages that have different things around them? What if we wanted to have blog posts on the left, e-commerce on the right, maybe some social components, maybe some mail campaign components that bring things together? And that is one of the things that Sitefinity really helps you with this idea that you can bring your pages together and tailor them in any shape and form. So the way you would handle things like presentation right here is through this drag and drop editor, which allows you to say, well, okay, I want to have a 50-50 layout that spreads across my page. So I want to have something on the left and something on the right. Or I want to narrow this down a little bit further, and I want to have a column for my blogs on the left and then some of my products on the right. And I can definitely do that within the editor. I can just drag, drop, and tailor these experiences. And so when I do that, you can see that these boxes now allow me to add different things for content as well. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take one of the widgets right here on the left, and you will see that it will start pulling in blog posts directly from my blog, from the blog I authored. So you will see here that the blog post that I authored was immediately pulled together, and the next blog post and the next blog post and so on and so forth. And so that information was immediately pulled off from what my authors contributed. From here on, I can say something like, well, this page is really with a green focus. So what I want to do is really narrow down my blog posts by category and select only the ones categorized with green, right? Remember when we added a green category to my blog? And this will help us make sense to the user through the power of taxonomy. Now again, I'm adding my blog post, I'm making it display relevant and important information based on the way I've organized this in my CMS, and I'm ready to add in a little bit of e-commerce here as well. And that part is extremely easy simply because e-commerce in the context of Sitefinity works in with all those different components in exactly the same way. So it's basically a drag and drop shop, right? If you can get a widget right here from the left, and if you want to build out pages, you simply need to take those widgets and plug them into their desired page, and plug them and display them in any way you would want them to display. And the editing experience, the way you would cater this e-commerce experience further, and the way you would narrow things down is exactly the same. Now, our products appeared, they obviously appeared from our products module and from our e-commerce module, and they're being pulled right now. And what is being pulled is all published products, so all products that are now live. But I can even filter this down further, the same way I did with blogs. So I can say, well, I want to narrow down by departments, or by tags, or by dates, and I want to show e-commerce products that are tagged with green. And I also want to display a maximum of 6, and I want another template that I use here. So I want to display them in a slightly different fashion and hide the sorting widget. So I'm going to select this, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have my page published right now. So what I'm going to do right now, since I'm happy with my page, is preview it. And now that I'm happy with how it works in desktop, here comes the cool part. It actually works great in mobile devices as well. So it actually has this ability as a landing page to adapt towards mobile devices through the power of responsive design. So what Sitefinity did for me is figure out a lot of important stuff. Things like, well, we had 2 columns spread out, but maybe a little bit too much. Let's narrow them into 1 by 1 columns, and let's spread them out vertically. And we had different other information together. So, you know, as a site administrator, I may decide how this would display on an iPad, how this would display on an iPhone, and make sure it displays correctly. So that is all brought together with the responsive design capability that comes straight out of the box right here. And you can get all your pages and all the things you author to be immediately responsively adapted. And so, okay, let's look at products real quick. Let's look at e-commerce and all these capabilities that it brings together. Now, if we look at products, and if we look at how this is built together and how these products got pulled onto my page, there's really an interesting thing that you would notice here. Now, the first thing you may notice is that the design looks very consistent with what you saw on blogs. I have a grid. Since my products actually have also images and primary images around them, I display them as well. And I also have the capability to create products off the bat. Now, first things first, what I want to do with my products is create a simple product. And where Sitefinity differentiates right now is that every product may have unique things that you want to bring together in its structure. So Sitefinity differentiates between a notebook, a tablet in our case, all the different products that we sell, and it actually gives you the power to say, well, within this product we have these unique fields. We have a title, we have description, and that is standard, but we also can have a material source that gives us what this product was recycled from. We also can have a screen size that says, okay, well, this is a 17-inch laptop. And we also have a lot of different things. And that is brought up by the power of so-called product types. So basically, within the concept of a product type, I can go ahead and say, I want my products to look exactly like this. I want my products to be organized exactly as they are in my software. So I have this type of taxonomy. I use this taxonomy to bring content and products together, and these are the type of fields that I would use for creating a laptop. So if we go to custom fields and product fields right here, you would see that the interface here gives me my default fields. It gives me basically all the fields that I have by default that are whether an item is visible, its title, its SKU, all the default things that work for e-commerce. But it also gives me the ability to add certain fields to this. So the ability to add things like, well, what type of memory does it have? What type of RAM? So I can go ahead and say, well, here I want to have a multiple choice field to my laptops, and then I will name this RAM. And I can go ahead and give this options of 4 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs of RAM, and even make this laptop a very powerful beast right here. And so I would extend my products into anything you would want. And just speaking from the head of a developer here, just speaking from as someone who has worked with different types of solutions, I'd like to say that this is something extremely powerful. So within the concept of custom types, within the concept of custom content with taxonomy and with product fields, there's really literally nothing you cannot bring out as experience, because the majority is taking care of you. Essentially, what your content is something you can tailor right off the bat within the system. So that is something extremely valuable and extremely important. Now let's create our product, and that is a really fast process. We can create any type of product anywhere and set it up. And so let's go ahead and create a simple product right here and work with it as well. Now I've made edits to my notebook type, so I can say, okay, let's add a mini notebook or any other type of information, and I can once again go ahead and do the same thing. I can copy and paste my information from Microsoft Word. I can go ahead and paste this. Sitefinity will strip this down and make it look beautiful. I can give this a weight and give this all the different e-commerce capabilities that I want to, and I can select from any of those custom fields that I've predefined right now. So again, this is extremely powerful in terms of how it builds together. And if you look at taxonomy, if you look at all the different types of taxonomy, they bring and marry together content and products. So if we want to have a page where we talk about how we make products out of airplanes, you can have all different materials that talk about how a separate material source is used, and then plug in products that are made from this material source. And of course, the opportunities here weigh up much more than that. So I can give this a material source. I can give this a screen size of, let's say, 17 inches. I can give this a type of RAM. And I can even further taxonomize this by departments, by tags, by dates, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and continue further and give this a price. And let's say I'm going to sell this for $7.99, and I'm even going to track inventory. In this case, my product would not have variations, so I'm going to track inventory simply by the product, and I'm going to give this 500 products right then and there, and select a couple of images from my library. So let's select this one, let's go with that one as well, and so on and so forth. Now, under more options, again, opportunity number 10 to marry up content and e-commerce is the ability to unlock content for people who buy. So basically what you can do is associate people with a role when they buy, and from there you can give them access to your content, to your pages, and unlock through the power of CMS permissions any type of content together. The URLs we already talked about, search engine friendly by default, and everything looks consistent right over there. And so our product is now live. Last things last, once we publish this product, once we're ready to get rolling with this product, one last thing that I wanted to talk about is personalization. So the one last thing that I wanted to talk about is how we personalize these experiences through every step of the way. And when we talk about personalization, we think about it in a wholesome experience kind of way, in the way that a user actually has experiences that go through multiple points in time and through multiple touch points in order to buy our products or read our content or stay on our site. And the way I'm going to do this is through marketing and personalization right here. And I'm going to look at how we can differentiate our users and how we can create different segments that tell us how exactly user is behaving on our site and what can we do to help him further. So for this, within personalization, I can create a simple segment, and I can say I want to have a segment that talks exactly to people who have purchased Photon, but probably haven't visited, but are not active in the community. And let's give this a descriptive way. stating this. So let's say have purchased Photon, not really active in the community. So what we can do is add different types of characteristics to automate all that and how we recognize all that. So we can take from a number of outbound characteristics, so how the person landed on our site, who referred him to our site, what is his IP address, what is his landing URL, what is his location, whether he is in New York or in Sydney, it doesn't really matter. You can tie into an IP database and then give him personalized experiences based on that. So I want to really add those characteristics to my personalization and recognize different features around my user. Now this ties in perfectly with product types, it ties in perfectly with taxonomy, it ties in perfectly with pages, with content, and everything. Because not only can we recognize where a person is coming from, but we can also recognize what he did on our site. So we can recognize things like, oh, hey, this person has actually purchased in a department, or shops in this particular range, or shops green products, or shops products of particular type. And you can even narrow this down to the product. So you can say, okay, my fellow right over here purchased a laptop called, what did we want to do? Let's do Lepton. And go ahead and click save. So you can add more and more to this. You can say, okay, well, in his profile he indicated that he is interested in XYZ and his age is 26. And so we can add that as a field. And we can add more and more. He can say he visited pages XYZ, and then he stayed on these pages, and then he stayed in X amount of time on the site, but he still hasn't visited the community page. So we can add different things like this to our segments. And when we translate what we have for our users into Sitefinity language, into what we have for personalization, when we translate all that, it really brings all these bits and pieces together. It really brings what we've talked about in terms of creating pages, creating experiences that marry together the concept of e-commerce and the concept of personalization, and the concept of content. And so bring these experiences together, shorten the gap, show them relevant stuff based on what they already did and what they already indicated that they like, and that will bring all these experiences together. Now the actual personalization part is easy. What I can do is basically go ahead and personalize my pages. So I can go ahead and click personalize right here, and then the system will give me a number of segments that I haven't really used yet, haven't really personalized by yet, and I can add in any other widgets that might be relevant for my users. So, you know, if he were a community guy, I wanted to probably add in the forums right here and lead him to the forums if he hasn't seen it, and then go ahead and once again publish this and make this cater this experience further. So bridging the gap and building the content is really what's valuable here. And so what really happened right now is, if you look at once again from the perspective of our users, they came because of content and they stayed because of content. They purchased because they like the products, they like the price, and they like different things around it. And personalization really helped them find out the different things they like. And that is one of the things that a uniform e-commerce and CMS experience can bring together and give you as an experience. Now, last thing and last little teaser I showed you in the beginning is how we test personalization. And that little console I showed you, where we saw how people that search for tablets really see something different than people who search for laptops, and that is also part of the personalization console. That is also part of you creating the experience and then testing them and then walking step by step and saying, well, okay, if a person has purchased Photon, where does this page lead him? When we land on the page, what is the most obvious? Does it look beautiful for this user? What about if a user is coming from Sydney? What is he seeing when he goes through step 1, 2, and 3? And even more importantly, how is he seeing it on an iPhone? So those are really a few of the good things that fall under together when you think of all these experiences with CMS and with e-commerce built together. So let me wrap things up real quick and finish up with just a few words out there. Let me quickly pull up my my presentation and basically wrap up what we're talking about. Of course, I wasn't able to touch on every single one of the features. Probably 3, 4, 5, 7 hours wouldn't be enough of that. But what I wanted to tell you guys with this presentation, that content strategy and e-commerce is a thing. It is a huge opportunity for you, and this is what we're talking about. If you bring content and e-commerce together, all those little pieces around it fall together. Turn in the mobile button, turn in the personalization button, and people would love what they're seeing on the site. They seek all these type of unified and powerful experiences. They haven't expected them in the past, but now, since more and more brands starting investing more and more money into experiences, they start to seek these experiences that go cross-channel, they go different paths, different points in times, and cross-device. So you can make all your core components drive your users and connect your experiences. And content is key to that. Content is what makes people come to the site, and content is what makes people stay and purchase. So you can shorten and create those distances. And when you make personal conversations using personalization, these can fall short. These conversions can become a bit shorter. And a couple of last words. Again, I really appreciate you taking time with me. A couple of last words that I wanted to give up is a little sneak peek of what is coming up with e-commerce, and that is another great big opportunity that you guys have to spread out vertically, to spread out geographically, and to spread out through different departments and different branches. So what we're talking about here and what's coming up next week, next month, is multi-commerce, the idea of multi-site, multi-commerce that really brings all these components together. So what I'm talking about here is the idea that you can have one catalog, and then this catalog can have multiple shipping, multiple orders, and then you can have different sites, different top-level domains, different microsites, different landing pages, and they all can talk together. You can share catalogs with them, you can share shipping rates, and you can share shipping informations with them. They can go to the same orders, or they can go to different types of orders, and you can really mix and match how you manage multiple sites in multiple regions, in multiple markets, within multiple franchises, and different things like that. And so that is a bit of a sneak peek. A lot of other good things are coming. Workflow and scheduling, and workflow by product type, and amazing things are coming up for 6.0. A few of the free stuff that we are giving out, we have a survey that we would love you guys to fill out. If you have any input on what you like to see in e-commerce, if you have any input on what you would like to see in the roadmap, here's a great survey for you. I'm going to just pull out our blogs right here real quick. It is on sitefinity.com/blogs. If you fill this out, we're also giving up $100 in Amazon. And also, personalization is this month half off. So if you want to get in touch, and really make use of this promotion, we are really giving out a promo for that. Get in touch with us. Again, there's different other promos coming up. It's St. Patrick's month, so a lot of lucky promos going out here and again. And with this, thank you all. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking up, and thank you for all your wonderful questions. Again, I will try to address all of them in Twitter once again. I would try to really get in touch, and I would love you guys to get in touch and talk to us what you like to see in these type of experiences. And once again, we appreciate you joining us today, and talk to you soon. Thank you.